Terminator Zero is a new Terminator anime series that came out on Netflix a couple of weeks ago. I was supposed to talk about this series last week, but time got away from me, life got in the way, didn't have as much time as I thought I would have to talk about it. Now I have a block of time this week where I'm going to talk about it. So keep in mind, there won't be any spoilers in this video. I'm also not going to go blow by blow through the entire show. I'm just going to talk about the things that I like, the things that I want to talk about. Let's start with the fact that we have traveled a long road to get here. Not through space and time, but through sequelitis. Those first two Terminator films are masterpieces to me. Like, those are the best, two of the best sci-fi movies. Like, the first one is sci-fi horror, second one is sci-fi action. Both of them are landmarks in each of their respective genres. Shout out to James Cameron, my GOAT, but putting that aside, if you look at the sequels, I'm not saying all the sequels have been bad. Terminator 3 was okay, and the Terminator Salvation I thought was at least unique and new, and it tried to take the franchise in a different direction. And then the last two, you know, they exist. So right off the bat, listing all of the history of Terminator and how exhausted I am at Terminator shit at this point. I went into this series and I didn't know what to expect. I had hopes, it looked good, the posters, the trailers, everything looked really cool. But it's all about execution, baby. It's all about the story. It's all about what they're bringing to bear and how they're gonna make this one feel better or different than the other Terminator shit that we've gotten before. Do they make Terminator better than it's been before? Yes, I would say majority yes, when you look at the history of Terminator after the second movie. Do they make it different? Well, yeah, actually they do. In fact, they make it better and different, but at the same time make it very similar to what we've seen. One of my favorite things right off the bat with this series is the way that they incorporate the DNA of all of the films and even the TV series Sarah Connor Chronicles. Side note, if you haven't seen the Sarah Connor Chronicles, you're missing out on life. It's only 2 seasons, but it is 2 seasons of elite television. You should definitely check that out. But this series feels like a really cool mix or an amalgamation of all of these different pieces of Terminator lore, all kind of pushed together to create something fresh and original. There are going to be things in this series, either aesthetically, or maybe it's lines of dialogue, or maybe it's just certain story beats that are going to remind you of the other film. There's an entire sequence in a police station that is going to remind a lot of people of the first Terminator movie. That's just one tiny example. So I do like the fact that this series doesn't feel like it's trying to shit on the rest of the lore or change it or ignore it or whatever. It feels kind of like it's paying homage to it in a certain way. That works visually as well as narratively, but let's talk about the visuals for a second, because holy shit, this is a gorgeous looking series. It definitely reminds me of some of my favorite animes when I was a huge anime fan in my heyday, like I'm not still in my prime. Let's ignore that last part. I'm still absolutely at the peak of mental, physical, okay, well, maturities, that we're still working on that. But Yu Yu Hakusho, Inuyasha, Cowboy Bebop, I mean, Bleach, to a certain degree, all of those are part of my spirit. This series definitely visually takes some of its cues from some of that animation. I especially like the way they highlight the shadows, the darker colors, the way that they highlight the contrast to really emphasize like the details on people's faces, the details on their clothes, even the details in the background. And then we got to talk about the details when it comes to the Terminators themselves, because the Terminators in this show are badass. These Terminators are intimidating. These Terminators feel unstoppable. That's how the Terminator is supposed to feel. If you look at all throughout the other films and TV shows or whatever, the best ones are when the Terminator itself feels like an unstoppable force. This series absolutely brings it when it comes to the gore, the carnage, the barren wasteland of bodies that the Terminators leave in their wake. It is just a sight to behold. I especially like the design of one of the second Terminators that takes place in like the main branch of time that the series takes place in. His eyes are very wide, and it just, I don't know, it just kind of adds to the intensity of the situation. Maybe I just think he looks like a creep, but either way, I like the design. I like how intimidating and menacing these things are. You're gonna be jumping back and forth between different timelines to tell different parts of the story. There's gonna be one part of the story that's really more of a cerebral, like, think piece in its approach. There's a part of the story where a character has to kind of debate an artificial intelligence about the merits of humanity. I thought some of these scenes were some of the most riveting of the entire series. Beyond that, there is definitely that cat and mouse hunter and prey element that you've seen in a lot of other Terminator films and stuff, as the Terminators are pursuing somebody through time. But even then, the Terminator has like interesting motivations, where its motivations are not just tied to kill, destroy. It has kind of more nuance in how it approaches certain things. There's different wrinkles. There's a different layer that's added to everything that's happening here that makes it feel a little bit different than before. Main reason for that is that this series introduces something to the time travel mythology that I haven't seen in a lot of the other ones, and I kind of like the fact that they really went in and emphasized it in here. And that is the idea of parallel or different timelines. I thought that was a really cool way to inject some weirdness into the story, because we've been through the multiverse shit at this point, right? Like, we've seen all of the different takes and all the different ways that going back in time, maybe it changes things, maybe it doesn't, maybe it changes things and creates a new path. And that's really what this series is tackling at its core, which is the idea of fate and free will and choice, destiny, and all of that good shit that we have also seen at times talked about in the other films. Having it be based around the idea of parallel timelines just adds an unpredictability to it and adds even more depth to that type of storyline. So I do appreciate that here. I also want to give a shout out to the characters in this movie. A large portion of the characters, there's these kids that are kind of being hunted by this Terminator. There's a protector sent from the future. Like I said, you'll see DNA of this protector. You'll see like John Connor, Sarah Connor. You'll see different elements of different characters in this specific character that they have created for the show. There's only one character that kind of irritated me, and this was this character named Kinzu. I think the name was Kenza. They're one of those dumb, smart people, if that makes sense. The way that their character is written just kind of feels in contrast to the other characters in the story. The other characters make decisions that feel like they fit their character, and this character makes decisions where it just feels like they're smarter than the decisions that they're making, but they need this character to make these decisions because it has to go against their character. It just feels weird. It also just gets kind of irritating after a while. Like, this is one of those characters that gets evidence of information shown in their face, and they just kind of go the opposite way. And I'm just kind of like, what? Why are you the way that you are?
Shut up! Shut the fuck up!
No right to take me.
Shut up! Will you shut up? Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
It's not enough to like break the series or anything, but it's definitely a little bit frustrating when you have like that one character that's just like the irritating one, the annoying one. Shout out to the music in the series. The music was pretty dope. As far as other issues, the only thing I would say is that towards the end of the series, things do get a little bit convoluted. There's a lot more exposition, and then characters' motivations are all kind of crashing together and overlapping. This is where some of the time travel shit starts to like run into questions and unanswered questions, and it all starts to feel a little bit more complicated than what it was before. Having said that, the series does end on a very interesting note where it's kind of like uncharted territory, and I like the fact that a large portion of the series feels like territory we've walked over before, but it leads to a new place and it leads to different ideas, and I thought that was a really cool thing. I think that if you're a big Terminator fan, you should check it out. I feel like you're going to have a good time. If you're an anime fan, you're gonna love it. If you're a Terminator fan, you're at least gonna like it and probably gonna love it. I had a blast with this thing. I think it's one of the best things that the Terminator series has done in a really long time. I'm really hopeful for season 2. I am actually gonna give Terminator Zero a 4 out of 5. I thought it was really dope, really good. Guys, have you seen Terminator Zero? What did you think about it? What is your favorite Terminator movie or TV show or whatever? Put that in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.